Have you ever felt like you are working so hard, 12, 14, 16 hours a day, you are doing everything supposedly correct because you've seen other advisors doing it and they're getting results, but you're not. And perhaps maybe you have invested in yourself, right? You go for coaching programs, you buy and pay for workshops, you go for certifications, but at the end of the day, you either end up with minimal or no results. Because if that is you, then you are not alone. Okay, so now I've spoken to more than nearly 3,000 advisors, coach more than 300 advisors went into our up level program, mentors a lot of TOT producers, so on and so forth, right? And I've seen so many people being stuck at a certain level of income, not only for like half a year or like a year, but for years. Like they could be earning 2-3K a month total in income for the next 5 years or the last 5 years, sorry. And then like they're still there. It's still there. And this is also the same for some advisors who perhaps they're achievers and they're already taking back 8K, 10K a month. They are doing MDRT and everything else, but they can't seem to get to MDRT or even COT. The reason that I have found, at the very least, is that a lot of times when you want to grow the advisory business, when you want to grow your level of income, the key is about solving problems in the advisory business. And so the game is solving problems. And the challenge I'm seeing a lot of people, including myself, because I've been through this in the past, which is that the reason we are not growing is because you're solving the wrong problems, right? And if you're always solving the wrong problems, it doesn't really matter how hard you work. You know, it's kind of like you're running very hard, but you're not running on the ground, you're running on a treadmill, right? And so no matter how hard you run, no matter how fast you run, you end up being in the same position and having the same view. Okay, and so basically in this video, I'll show you the framework and process that we use to help our own advisor clients get unstuck in their advisory. And it's also the methodology by which my team and myself use to diagnose constraints and diagnose what's the right problems to work on and get them to basically their MDRT, COT, and even like multiple 6 figures income in the fastest amount of time. Okay, and so this video is going to cover that. Now, if you don't know who I am, my name is Benjamin, and I'm the founder of Authentic Advice Systems, where we help advisors basically grow their sales, expand their reach, and transform more lives, right? And one of the biggest reasons why I'm doing these videos is because there are many advisors that lack systems, coachings, and also the right environment for them to thrive, right? So they end up either being broke, unhappy, or maybe on the other side of it, they could be having a lot of money, but they're still equally unhappy as well, right? And I don't want you to be one of them, okay? And so by documenting my lessons, stories, and frameworks, it could really help you to make you more money, and maybe at some point in time, you might want to work with us as well. Okay, so let's dive into it. Okay, and so think about it this way, right? It's like, so like I mentioned just now, if let's say this is what you want, which is you want more income. Okay, let's say just say you want more income. The output of the entire advisory business is at the end of the day you get more income. Now, of course, it could be time, it could be less effort, it could be whatever, right? But let's just say in this case you earn more money, and so the output or the end outcome will be income. Now, in order for you to earn income, like you want to see this as it's like a process, right? There's like A, B, C, D, E, F. You know, it's kind of like manufacturing. So there will be like, okay, you need to put. So it's kind of like, okay, let me put in the time, energy, effort into even money, right? Into the advisory business. And then basically you have a bunch of processes over here. Usually it's your prospecting, your conversion, your servicing, so on and so forth, right? And maybe I'll cover it in another video, but basically you have certain processes, right? So maybe you're doing cold call lead gen, and then you're trying to sell them, and then you try to service them, whatever, right? And so it's kind of like a process, right? And so this basically allows you to earn more income. Now, the thing here is this, right? If you are, so a lot of advisors tend to do this, right? They tend to, okay, let me put in, okay, let's say they are working like 6 hours a day. Okay, let's just put it 10 hours a day. Okay, they're working 10 hours a day, and then they're kind of earning like 5K a month in total, right? Let's just say in total. And let's say they want to think about, okay, I want to double my income, right? They want to earn from 5K to 10K. Guess what happens? They will immediately think that the easiest way to go about doubling the income is to go from 10 hours a day to 20 hours a day, right? Or at least let's increase the amount of time, energy, money, and effort into the process, right? So they can earn more income. Now, on theory, this makes sense. However, what happens is that you will face some form of constraint, right? For example, there's no way you can work 20 hours a day, or at least you'll die trying, right? It's definitely not sustainable. And so instead of working more at this point in time or doing more per se, what you might want to do, or what at least we look at, right, is that let's look at the, oh, sorry, this is totally wrong. Okay, but what we do is basically we just start looking at the process, right? And look at, okay, is it A that's a problem, B is a problem, C is a problem, D is a problem, E is a problem, right? And then once we identify the main problem, which is kind of what I call the bottleneck, then of course, then we apply the solution, all right? And that's essentially how you want to grow any business in general, even like whether you're CEO of Apple, Microsoft, whatever, right? Like this kind of a whole idea. It's like you look at what's really the key thing that's constraining your business, and or what we call bottlenecks, and then you solve that problem, and then this will give you a increase or improvement in income without just working more hours. Now, in some sense, in some cases, which I'll share in a bit, that the amount of hours that you put in could be a constraint, right? I mean, hypothetically speaking, if you only work, let's say 1 hour a day, right? If you only work 1 hour a day, then obviously there's only going to be so much output they're going to get, right? So it's kind of big idea. Now, of course, unless you're like 20 years in business, you have your recurring is like 50,000 a month. I mean, that's a whole different thing, right? Altogether. But generally speaking, if you talk about active income and growing the advisory business, then this is kind of like you need to put in time and effort. Okay. So now that's it. Next thing I'm going to do is I'll share with you a problem solving matrix that we use for our clients, and I think it's also a mental model that's very, hopefully, will be helpful for you to think through every time you make a decision whether to buy leads, whether to increase your sales process, use a new content presentation, so on and so forth. Hopefully this will be of great help for you. Okay, so remember, at the end of the day, we want to solve problems, right? Like that's what we talk about, right? We solve problems, and then basically if we solve it the right way, then we earn more money. Okay, so that's the whole idea, right? Now, there's basically a matrix to this. Let me just draw this out. Now, here's the thing, right? I mentioned that yes, you solve problems to earn more income, but sometimes on the left-hand side is that sometimes you might solve the wrong problem in the wrong way. Okay, that's for real. I should give you an example. So you might solve a wrong problem the wrong way, and then you will end up, or the other quadrant is that you might be solving the wrong problem but the right way, and then you might also be solving the right problem but the wrong way. And then finally, the best one is obviously you solve the right problems and you solve it the right way. Okay, and of course I'll give examples of each in this particular video, right? But here's the thing you start to realize is that this is why advisory is so hard. This is why like being self-employed, taking responsibility over your sales process and like earning more money and getting leads and everything else is hard, right? Because you could be solving the wrong problem the wrong way. You could be solving the wrong problem but through the right way. Right? And then the last one, and then the third one is that you could be actually be solving the right problem, like you diagnose the right problem, it's a correct problem that we got to work on and got to solve, but you end up solving it the wrong way, which is not going to get you there either, right? If you think about it, like there's only one quadrant that you really want to be in, and the thing is that like the odds are stacked against you, right? And so hopefully this entire video is going to help you get clear on that, and you can make the best decisions ever. Let's talk about the first one, right? Now the first one would be to wrong problem, wrong way, right? Let's just put it wrong problem, solving a wrong problem, and through the wrong way. So let me just like put it here, wrong problem, wrong way. So here's the context, right? And so let me give you some context, and then you can play out a scenario for it, right? So let's say, for example, hypothetically speaking, first data point is that this person, this advisor, okay, only works 1 hour per day. Okay, 1 hour, only works 1 hour a day, right? Have 2 appointments a week. And then, number 3, let's just say this person is doing cold calls. Okay, now, this particular advisor thinks that, hey, you know what, because I only have 2 appointments a week, I think I have obviously the problem. I think that I have a leads issue, right? So the advisor thinks that they have a leads issue. Very common, right? Because if you don't have enough appointments, you're kind of working, but then like you're not getting leads, and it's easy to blame on the leads issue. Let's just say it's a leads issue, right? And then the perceived solution, right? This advisor concludes that, hey, if I'm having a leads issue, my solution would be, guess what? To buy leads, right? To buy leads, hire a marketer, right? And that's the whole idea. Right, it's like if I diagnose that I think that I have a leads problem because I only have 2 appointments a week, right? See here, 2 appointments a week. Then this would mean that the one thing that would make sense is obviously to buy leads and hire a marketer, get whatever, right? If you look at this, and even if you want to take a pause at this scenario, what do you think is a real problem? What do you think is a real problem here? Is it really a leads issue? Okay, it's cold calling. Okay, it's cold calling 1 hour a day. You're getting 2 appointments a week. Okay, do you think it's a leads issue? Probably not, right? Because if you think about it, if you just look at this is like really extreme example, right? I highly doubt people work 1 hour a day, but you never know, right? The thing here is that obviously the problem is the real problem is the 1 hour a day. It's the effort problem. This is definitely an effort problem, right? If you're only working 1 hour a day and you're getting 2 appointments a week, it's pretty decent, right? And so the question then becomes, okay, great. So imagine this advisor, decides that, okay, maybe it's not a leads problem, it's a me not putting enough effort problem. And let's say decided to do 3 hours a day. Right? Perhaps you could start getting 6 appointments a week. Good progress. Now, maybe what if this person or this advisor decide to do, let me just prospect 5 hours a day. So if 5 times the output and assume that it's linear, then you get 10 appointments a week. So you just start to realize that like you can actually get more appointments by putting more hours, because this is the constraint and not the leads problem, right? Because if you think about it, if you think that, let's say in this particular case, if you truly think that you only work 1 hour a day and you think that you have a leads issue, what tends to happen here is that when you buy leads, when you hire a marketer, let's say you get another 300 more leads, you're still constrained by the number of hours that you work, right? Because hypothetically speaking, let's bring it to an extreme case because it's easier to imagine. Let's say you get 1,000 leads now, right? You get 1,000 leads, $1 lead, whatever, right? You spend $1,000, you get 1,000 leads. The question now is, how many of these 1,000 leads can you call in a day or even in a week? If you're only doing 1 hour a day, it's probably going to not be that many, right? As opposed to, okay, great, let me just increase the number of hours. Since 1 hour equals to 2 appointments, then I should just increase my hours and I can get more appointments, right? And so that's really like the key problem over here, right? The key problem is basically the inputs and the effort kind of like problem. And the correct solution is basically to, in some sense, I know like most of you don't like this, but in some sense, in this case, it's really to do more, right? And you gotta increase that. Because if you don't, you're gonna spend money buying leads and you're not get the results either way. Okay. And this might seem like an extreme case, or this might seem like, how Ben, like, how can someone be so stupid, right? Who the fuck works 1 hour a day or whatever it is, right? But you'll be surprised. Okay, you'll be surprised, right? Now, some of you might be thinking, hey Ben, how the hell do I don't have time to prospect 4 or 5 hours a day. But here's the thing, okay? If you're only prospecting 1 hour a day, okay, and you get 2 appointments a week, and you're saying that if you work 4 hours a day prospecting right now to get 8 appointments, and you're saying you have no time, my question here is very simple. What's the rest of the time being allocated to, right? Like, where's the rest of the time allocated to? Because at the end of the day, as an advisor, there's only 2 key things you're going to do right now. There are many other things, obviously, but there are really 2 key things you're going to do every single day. Number 1 is to make sure that you do prospecting. That's the first thing. And then number 2 is selling, right? And so basically you go for sales appointments, so on and so forth. There's only 2 things you got to do, right? And so if you don't have that many appointments, and usually selling happens in the appointment, right? Whether it's social opening, closing, whatever. If you don't even have enough of this, then you should spend like 90% of the time on prospecting, right? You shouldn't have no time for other things, right? And so that's kind of a big idea here for this, right? And so some of you might be watching this, and perhaps your problems could just be solved by putting a little bit more effort, right? Just putting a little bit more, and a little bit more. Okay, and so that's basically that. Well, you can see this is one very simple case of wrong problem and through the wrong way, all right? Or maybe I should be highlighting the other one instead, which is like solving the wrong problem through the wrong way. Okay, and so that's basically scenario 1, right? So now let's move on to the next scenario, which is, let me just erase this thing. Oh no, yeah. Bear with me for the erasing part. Let me see if I can find a better solution to this. Okay, but anyways, so we talk about wrong scenario 1, right? Scenario 1, which is basically wrong problem, wrong way. Now let's talk about scenario 2, which is the wrong problem, but the right way. Okay, wrong problem, but right way. This is interesting. Okay, so now let's go into it, right? So let me give you context again. Let's say this particular advisor is having 15, okay, let's just say 15 appointments a week. Okay, 15 appointments a week. And person closes 1 out of 15. And let's just say the person is doing roadshows. Okay, the person is doing roadshows. Okay, and then let's say closing cashew or a PA plan, accident plan. Okay, so closing ratio is 1 out of 15, which I don't know, that's like what, 8% or even lesser? I don't know, right? But basically it's bad. Okay, basically it's bad. Okay, it's 1 out of 15. Okay, now think about it. Okay, so this advisor goes for roadshow, right? Works like 8 hours a day, take full shifts, and just really keep like, going people after people, sitting people down, and like, trying to close them and everything else, right? And ends up only closing 1 out of 15. Now, after doing this for a few months, right? Let's say this, because this advisor is very hardworking, very persistent. After doing for a few months, what happens is that the problem that this advisor derives or concludes, because this advisor is so very retrospective, like to reflect, like to learn, and then start looking back and say, okay, you know what? Well, I work so hard. I work 8-10 hours a day. I'm doing 15 pounds a week. I'm selling cashew. I only close like 1 out of 15, right? But I see my other colleagues. Okay, I see my other colleagues, they are doing roadshows, so same with me, but they're kind of like closing bigger cases, they're closing better. In fact, some of them are closing cashew, but they're closing way more than me, blah, blah, blah. So I'm guessing it's probably not a roadshow thing. I'm guessing that my real problem, since other people can also do the same thing as I'm doing, but I'm not getting results, I think the problem is me. So I believe that I have a mindset problem, right? And so this advisor believes that he or she has basically a mindset problem, right? And it makes sense. Now, for it, when you are looking at this, you might think that, okay, maybe the problem is when you got a skill set, right? Because this fella is closing 1 hour 15. But this person will more likely think that he or she has a mindset problem. And the reason for that is because when you do comparisons, right? When you look at other people doing the same things as you and they're kind of getting results and you're not, you would end up concluding that the problem is you, which is not wrong, but you start to think that, okay, maybe it's a mindset thing, right? Maybe you have negative attitude, so on and so forth. And so basically this is very common. This is very common. Every, I don't know, out of 10 advisors that are not doing well or not that well, like at least half of them will think that they have a mindset issue or they have a attitude problem. And some of them are true, right? They do really have a attitude problem, but generally speaking, most of them think that they have a mindset problem, but they don't, right? And so in this case, the solution that this advisor, because this advisor really wants to make this work in this industry, then this advisor decides, okay, you know what, I'm gonna invest in myself, right? I'm gonna invest in myself. If I think that if I truly believe right now I have a mindset issue, then what I'm gonna do is that I want to make sure that I solve this mindset issue and tweak my mindset. And so what happens here is that you're going to buy the solution, and this person, because again, very hardworking, very persistent, decides to invest in coaching. Right? Now, of course, this advisor already asked for the manager's help and everything else. The manager already did their best, directors already did their best, but maybe this person just feels like he or she wanted a little bit more help out the outside and willing to take money out. And so let's say invest in coaching. Solution is invest in coaching. Now, think about it this way. This is truly the case of wrong problem and right way, right? Because the thing is, if you just are with me right now that you're on this side with me, looking at this scenario, you tend to realize it's like it could either be one of two things, right? Or could even be two things that you work on, right? It's definitely not a mindset problem, because one of it could be just increasing the closing ratio. Because if this person, okay, 15 appointments week, close one cashew or whatever, right, might not be earning that much money. If this person increase closing from, I don't even know, like 1 out of 15 is like how many percent, right? But let's say this person increased to 20% closing ratio, okay? This person will just earn more money, keeping everything else the same, right? Still sell cashew, still do roadshow, still do 15 appointments a week. But if you close at 20%, which is way higher, I think maybe 1 out of 15 is like what? 4%, 5%, whatever, right? You will just 4x basically the production, right? And so that could be one, right? Increase closing ratio. And then the other one is that, okay, maybe instead of just selling cashew, you might want to increase, you want to cross-sell, or perhaps after selling them cashew, you want to have a process to sell them more right after they bought the cashew, right? So it comes usually in the form of servicing, and then you try to do review, and then try to sell more, right? And so this could either be one of those two scenarios or solutions, or two solutions that you can apply at once. Now, here's the thing. If this person is lacking skill sets, then the problem obviously is not a mindset problem, right? The problem is obviously a skill sets problem. Now, in terms of solution, you start to realize that the solution is actually correct. So solution is correct, but problem isn't, right? So wrong problem, right way. Because if this person decides that, okay, you know what, I really have a closing issue or whatever, and this person invests in coaching, but invests in sales coaching, right? Or business coaching, whatever you call it, or skill sets coaching, right? Or let's say they invest with us, right, in our outlet program, then this person is just going to get his or her results a lot faster and a lot better, and without that kind of work and everything else, because they diagnose the right problem, right? Because the right problem is basically a skill set thing, not a mindset. And so you start to realize that, and this is a true story, right? I have some advisors who are our clients right now, and prior to joining us, they were actually in another program, which I'm not going to mention, but in another program. And after they solved that particular problem that they think is a problem, they solved that particular problem, and then came over on the call with me and with my team, and they started to realize that, hey, they realized that, hey, they thought that was a problem, whatever problem they had, they thought that was a problem, which it wasn't, but they thought they solved it. And so even quote unquote, they solved that problem, they're still not getting more appointments, they're still not getting more sales, they're still not getting more confidence in selling, right? And the reason for that was because a lot of times, and this is something that could be worth thinking about, right, is that you want to think about symptoms versus problems, right? Symptoms versus problem. So you think about it. So a lot of people think that, okay, in this case, they think that, okay, mindset is actually a problem that they have. But then the question becomes, right, do you have a mindset problem, that's why you cannot close and get appointments? Or is it because you cannot open and close and get appointments, that's why you have a mindset issue? Because think about it, right? Which one comes first? Because if you really think about it, if you have spent 3 months working so hard every day and you're not getting results, I mean, if I were you, I would also have a mindset problem, right? I would feel I have a mindset problem because I feel jaded, I feel negative, I feel whatever. Like it will happen, it's bound to be the case because no one can be so happy and be so optimistic after going through 3 months or 3 years of shit, right? Like they'll still feel shitty about themselves. They have so low self-esteem, they think that they can't make it, they think they suck, and they think they have a mindset issue, right? But we have to ask, which one came first? The person already had a mindset issue, that's why they're not getting results, or because this person lacks the skill sets to open, close, and get appointments, because they lack those skills, and over a period of time they keep facing rejection, which resulted them in a mindset issue. And this is the difference between problem and symptoms, because now in this case, the mindset issue or the attitude issue could be a symptom of the real problem, which is you don't know how to open and close, you don't know how to sell. That makes sense. And so that's kind of like the big idea here, because what happens is that if you solve the symptoms, which is, let me solve the mindset issue. Let's say you solve that, but you still don't know how to prospect, open, and close. Let's say you still don't know how to do that. Then the problem still remains the same, which is like you still don't know how to prospect, open, and close, which you still face rejections, you still have a 1 out of 15 closing ratio, and you're not going to get that, right? You're not going to get the results that you want. You see? And so this is one of the key things that I've realized that was really a big problem, that people misdiagnose the thing, and they solve the symptoms and not the root problem, right? And so this is essentially wrong problem, right way. Okay, and so this is one of the very common ones that happens as well. And so if this is you right now, hopefully you ask yourself whether you really have a mindset issue or not. And as I'm erasing this thing, which I'll find a better way, like I mentioned the next time, one of the things you need to understand here is this, right? Is that does someone really do you think you really have a mindset issue or attitude issue? Like you think about it, nobody comes into this industry wanting to fail, right? Everybody comes into this industry wanting to succeed. And so the desire is there and the believability of you believing that you can succeed is there as well. Because if you never truly believe that you can't succeed, like you've never believed that you can succeed, and if you are not confident even to begin with, and you don't have a desire, then why do you even join the industry to begin with, right? Or why will you continue staying, so to speak, right? And so that's kind of the idea here. Okay, so now we solved 2 things already, right? We went through 2 scenarios. First one is the wrong problem, wrong way. The other one is wrong problems, right way. Okay, and so let's talk about it. The next one, which is now there's another group of people, maybe that's you right now, who knows, is that you might be solving the right problem but the wrong way. Okay, right problem but the wrong way. What do I mean? So think about it, then this is true story. Let me give you context. So maybe let's just say there's this lady, okay, single working mom, okay, single working mom. And by the way, just saying, if you're a single working mom or even just a working mother, respect to you, you are doing a great job. We have so many working mothers who are our clients and also single ones as well. Like it's just so hard, right? And lots of respect to you, so keep going, okay? But anyways, so single working moms, and then let's just say this person is earning 15K a month. Let's just say working 100 hours a week. Right now, might not be 100. I think it was close to 80 for this particular lady, but just to say 100 because it's easier to illustrate, right? And so 100 hours a week, and because this person is also she's obviously great at what she does, and she's smart. And what happens is that she also have a PA that helps her with all the admin stuff, and she pays this PA 2,005. Okay, just say 2,005 a month. Okay, 2,005K a month. Okay, now this particular advisor thinks that she obviously want to earn more money, right? She have like a couple of kids, and she want to earn some more money to take care of the kids, for herself, for her future, buy a house, yada, right? And so this person decides or thinks that, hey, you know what? Her main problem is not that she can open or close, right? She obviously can close pretty well. She's pretty seasoned. The challenge here is that she don't have enough time and energy, right? Because she got 2 kids, right? Let's just say 2 kids over here. Okay, let me just draw these 2 kids here. Okay, still got these 2 kids. It's just basically lacking time, attention, and energy, right? And so that's kind of the idea here. Now, and so this advisor sat down, reflected again, and decides, okay, you know what? I think my problem, it's time and energy, right? It's problem. It's time, not enough time and not enough energy, right? She's tired at the end of the day, and the other sons don't have enough alone time, right? And so the solution that she derived is that if I lack time and energy, and I don't have enough time to settle all the business stuff and also settle my kids and the other, then I guess it only makes sense that I should hire another PA, right? PA number 2, okay? Hire another PA, right? Because if I have a PA that I'm paying 2K already helping me this, maybe I should hire another PA and then like spend 2.5K, 3K, whatever it is, right? And so here's the thing. The question now, and this is kind of like, think about it this way, right? This is kind of like the trickier part of it, right? Which is, if you think about the first two scenarios, it was like wrong problems, right? We're all talking about wrong problems. And if you really, I think it's easier to diagnose kind of, I wouldn't say it's easier, but I wouldn't say it's easy. I think it's just easier to realize that, okay, what's really the wrong problems. But then the next tricky part is that even if you diagnose the right problems, you know that this is a right problem. And in this case, it's true, right? If you're working 100 hours a week, there's no way you can have all the time and energy for you to carry on and grow your business and working 120 hours a week, right? So your constraint or your bottleneck in this case would definitely be time and energy. Now, the tricky part now is like, what is the right solution or what is the right way to go about solving this problem? And so in this case, most people will just be like, hey, you know what? Let me just hire a PA, which makes sense, right? Because if you, again, logical. If you're capped on time, you just want to buy back time. Totally makes sense, right? Now, but here's the thing. In this case, and this is literally true story that I recommended one of our clients, is that I didn't recommend her to hire another PA first. What I've recommended is that instead of hiring another PA, what she wanted to do, okay, so when you hire a PA solves, all your admin problems. Like basically you hire a PA to take care of the what? Take care of the business side of things, right? So you take care of business activities, okay? Things that are of lower value, okay? Low value business activities, okay? That's basically kind of the idea here, right? So there's a solution. Now, if you think about like time as a whole, like time and energy as a whole, the thing about this time and energy concept, right, is that it doesn't discern or it is unable to recognize, right, whether it goes into personal activities or going to business, right? Because 24 hours is 24 hours. It's not as if like, at 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. because you're deciding to work on personal stuff, the time will stretch and be slower and time will slow down for you, right? Like it doesn't make a difference to the time and energy. One of the things that you want to think about, and this is very important, especially if you're already going to be a COT producer or maybe you are MDRT advisor, you're a mom or your dad right now, and you want to earn more money without, and paying a little bit, and you're okay to pay a bit of money to buy more time. The thing is, you don't hire a PA first. The thing you want to do, at least in our case, is that you want to hire people that solves or buy back personal low value activities, right? Low value activities, okay? And so what do I even mean by that? So let me just explain. So if you think about it, when we are working, what tends to happen here is that we also have our personal activities that comes along, right? Like personal and business is always intertwined. And so if you think about in a week, what are some of the things that you think that like a parent or a mom or even like yourself would do, right? Let's say for example, in this case, she will have to pick up her kids, okay? And then she will have to cook, and then you have groceries. And then, you have to spend time eating, you have to decide where to eat, you have to do household chores, you got to do, like laundry, cleaning, etc., etc. Okay, then of course, you also have to pack your kids' clothes, yada yada, and 1,001 things, right? And so if you think about this, right, all these activities here, how many hours do you think it will take a week? How many hours do you think in total would take in a week, right? And so this could be easily 15 hours a week. Easily. Like the laundry, the cleaning, blah, 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 right? And buying the groceries and so on. 15 hours a week, right? Driving to the car park, driving to the shopping center, and then buying stuff, right? And so this could be easily 15 hours a week. Now, let's say it's 15 hours a week, or even 20 hours a week, so on and so forth, right? The key here is that you want to, instead of hiring a PA first, now I'm not saying don't hire a PA, I'm saying instead of hiring a PA first to take care of your business activities, you need to understand that in terms of, okay, think about it this way. If you are helping a client to submit a claim, right? Claim form, okay, versus buying groceries. From a monetary standpoint, right? Let's say, again, the objective, I'm not talking about this, your interest, if you like buy groceries, good for you. I'm just talking about if you come from objective of maximizing income and growing the advisory business. Between submitting claims and buying groceries, which one has lower value if the objective is earning more money? Obviously, buying groceries. Because buying groceries is not going to exactly help you earn more money. But if you can submit a claim form, you speed up your delivery, you get a better testimonial, you might get more referrals, which in turn help you to earn more money, right? And so if you think about that, the best way or the way to think through this, right, is that you want to hire people to basically remove as much of your personal activities as possible first, because of two reasons. Number one, like I mentioned, these things are lower value, right? There are two reasons here, right? Number one is that, first of all, your personal activities, most of them are lower value compared to business, right? Number two is that the amount of money or the cost required to buy back these lower value activities from a personal standpoint is actually cheaper. It's actually cheaper, right? And so if you think about like some solutions out there, like, you could be, and this is one of the things I recommended one of our clients, right? Is that, let's say you can hire a helper. Right now, you might not like to have a full-time helper, and there's a bunch of companies right now that does part-time, right? You can just, it's kind of like a Uber or Grab for helpers. And so you can, I think one of it is called Urban Company. I'm not affiliated, by the way, but one of it, at least I use, is called Urban Company. There's Helpling and so on and so forth, depending on which country you're from. But just speaking, if you just look at this, right, I think it's like what, $20 an hour or $15 an hour, right? And if you just have this person comes over 2 hours a day, or maybe 3 times a week, but maybe 3 hours each time, it's only cost you like what? Let's say just say 3 times a week and 3 hours, and let's just cost $25 each. So that's per hour. So that's what, 75, like $210, and then times 4 weeks is about like $800, right? $800. But let's say it buys you back literally like 9 hours of time or 10 hours of time. First of all, it's a lot cheaper, number one. Number two is that, more importantly, remove things that you actually hate. And the thing is that they probably do it better than you too. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're really damn bloody great at laundry and you love laundry, right? Like most of them, or most of these helpers and these amazing people that are being trained by companies, they probably can do laundry better than you, number one. And then number two, it can do it faster. And number three, it removes this whole idea of like you have to do things that you don't like, right? Like washing the dishes, for example. Maybe they are way better at washing than you. And so the goal is really to remove and buy back all your personal low value activities from your personal life. Then you hire a PA to remove the low value activities from your business one. And then this is where you are left only with the highest value activity, okay, that you can ever do to earn you more money. And this is true story across like, all the advisors, especially their COT, TOT, so on and so forth. Okay, and so that's kind of like the big idea here, right? And so, in short, we concluded the third one, which is the right problem, but just solving the wrong way. Okay, now, obviously, if this particular person, advisor, decides to really hire a PA, I don't think this is like literally like, oh, it's the wrong solution or whatever. It's just really, just from efficiency standpoint, this person should actually just buy back the personal side of things first before hiring a PA, right? And so that's kind of like the big idea here also. Okay, so that's it. We have covered, in short, the 3 problem solving matrix. Now, if you're wondering what about right problems and right way, I mean, essentially, whatever the first 3 scenarios I went through are your right problem, right way already. Okay, and I basically diagnosed that, right? But the whole idea here is that, remember, at the end of the day, you want to solve the right problem through the right way. Okay, solving the right problem through the right way is one of the most important things that you can ever do for yourself and for your advisory business, for your family, and so on and so forth. Okay, the thing here is this: is that I've also found that sometimes people might know that it's the right problem. That they might know that it's the right problem. They might know that it's also one of the better ways or one of the right ways to solve it. The challenge is that most people are just like perhaps scared, and then kind of like they doubt their decision, they doubt a lot of things, and then, or maybe they're afraid, And I think sometimes it's like we might know what's the right thing to do, what's the right problem to solve. We might just lack the affirmation, right? And so hopefully this entire matrix of the right problem, this is wrong problem, wrong way, and then you have the wrong problem, right way, and then you have right problem, wrong way, and then you have right problem, right way. Okay, so just hopefully this matrix helps you in your decision making, and that whether you want to buy leads from digital marketers, or you want to improve your closing ratio, or going for another coaching or mentoring workshop or whatsoever, right? Hopefully this will help you make way better decision. They will help you decide whether it's the right problem, right way. Because it's very painful. Like I myself have been through this. It's very painful if we are always stuck at the wrong problem, wrong way, and here. Because at the end of the day, like I mentioned, nobody wants to come into this country to fail, right? Everybody wants to come to succeed. But then why are some people succeeding or having more success than the rest? And the reason for that is because they usually fall into the other 3 quadrants, right? And the ones that move the fastest are not because they are way smarter, but because they are able to diagnose what's the right problem and solve it through the right way. Okay, and so Hope this video is helpful for you. I'll be doing more of these videos. Let me know if you like this kind of videos in the comment section below. To subscribe, send to your colleagues and your directors and managers, and so that they can too, make better decisions for yourself, for themselves, and for the agency as a whole. Okay, so if not, hopefully this video is helpful, and I'll see you in the next video.